Hey all, it's Nick, and today I want to take everyone with me as I do a very thorough pre-flight on 55 Charlie Yankee for several reasons. First off, the plane has been down for the last month getting some maintenance done, a few oil leaks in the engine, as well as getting the prop overhauled and serviced. And since that downtime is done, I need to make sure that this plane is as airworthy as possible so that I can continue getting my hours and moving forward. The other reason is because I, like a lot of you, started my general aviation experience in a Cessna 172. And transferring into this plane was very different in my pre-flight experience than what I would do with a Cessna. So I want to show you what all is involved in that process as I go through 55 Charlie Yankee for every single flight. First and foremost, the checklists. This is a custom checklist that I built with the instructor that I flew back this plane from California, and it goes through every single step. It turns into a bit of a flow, but I'm going to take you with me as I do this step by step and really check the plane for everything that it needs. First and foremost, I need to get all of the covers off, take the tie downs off, cowl plugs, pitot tube, and from there I'm going to start from the inside of the plane and work my way around the outside and then get back to the inside of it to be able to start her up. So let's start by going into the cockpit, and we're going to take a quick look at the interior panel. You'll notice that I don't have any glass. This is a steam gauge plane, has a vacuum system. So first I want to make sure that I am turning on the master. I'm going to check the lights, check some of the electronics, turn on my fuel pump and turn it off, making sure that it has fuel pressure. Going to turn on all of my exterior lights, turn on the pitot heat so I can check that pitot heat and make sure that it's working. And from there I'm also going to drop the flaps. You'll note that I don't have electric flaps in this plane, they are manual. Check to make sure that I have voltage running into my voltmeter, and make sure that the green light is on for my gear down. And then I'm going to just start a quick walk around, same as you would do with any other plane. Make sure that my anti-collision beacon is working. Making sure that I've got my green light on my right wing. Checking the landing lights, which I have one on either wingtip. Also make sure that the electric stall horn on this works. Check the heat on my pitot tube. It is in fact hot. My red light on my left wingtip. You'll see the flaps have been down here. And then I'm going to check the rear navigation lights. White lights on the top and bottom of my stabilator. Another difference for the Piper versus the Cessna. From there, I'm going to go in and turn off the electronics, and I'm going to turn to the fuel. This is a very specific fuel gauge because my Comanche has a very particular tank that actually only has 28 gallons of usable fuel, despite it being a 30-gallon tank. So fuel stick helped me out with that. I'm going to start by sumping all 4 tanks because I do have 4 tanks, 2 inboard and 2 outboard. Make sure that the fuel doesn't have any corrosion in it, any debris, any water, so that the system is good. Then I'm going to check each tank, opening up the fuel cap here and pulling it out, and measuring to see how much fuel I have in each tank. You'll note that this is a dipstick that actually fills from the bottom, so as I check the fuel and pull it up, the fuel will then come back out the bottom. I've got 12 gallons in my right wing inboard main tank. The difficult thing for this plane that's kind of interesting is that the outboard tanks are 15-gallon tanks, and I don't actually have a useful tool to be able to measure the fuel in there. So I have to eyeball that just to see how much is really in there. I'm working on actually getting a tool to be able to measure this appropriately, and as I start to develop that, I'll share that with you guys. Then I'm going to go to the left wing, check my fuel on this side, and I'm keeping in mind all of the different fuel totals that I have so that I'm able to calculate the weight of that fuel, 6 pounds per gallon that I have available, and also going to be checking that against the endurance of the plane. This morning, I'm planning on flying it down to Elberton, Georgia to top off all of the fuel, and I really don't need that much. It's only about a 25-minute flight. So, I only need, per my regulations, with 30 minutes of additional fuel on board during the day VFR, about 12 gallons. I've got about 30 gallons across all 4 of my tanks here, which is more than enough for me to ferry it down and top off for some cheap fuel down in Georgia. Now that I've checked my fuel, the other fluid that I really need to make sure is good is the oil. Now, I had a complete oil change done on the plane while it was in for service, so right now it's topped off at 12 quarts and is completely clean, so no worries there. Nice little push cap and pin it on down. Next, I do a quick walk around checking the flaps, checking the ailerons, and I'll actually show you what I'm looking for on the left-hand side wing. But I do one wing, check the leading edges for any cracks, any new damage that might have occurred, and I'm going to take this flow down underneath the wing to look at the landing gear. So the Comanche is a complex aircraft, which means that it has flaps, it has retractable landing gear, and it has a constant speed variable pitch propeller. Now, the important thing that I'm looking at under here is I'm looking at the lines, I'm making sure that there is not any damage to the lines so that there is not going to be a landing gear malfunction. I'm checking for any cracks on the tires, making sure that there's not any cord showing, and I'm also checking the brake pad width. I also want to make sure that all of my fuel vents are completely open and unobstructed. So anything that has an air intake or a potential air output, so that I'm not going to suffer any fuel issues, is going to be very important. From there, working my way around the plane, we're going to go under the cowl and take a look at all of the wires, making sure that everything is connected appropriately. Now, the key thing that I really want to make note of here is I want to look at these wires, which are actually my EGT temperatures, and I also want to make sure there's no cracks on my exhaust. Anything that could lead to carbon monoxide in the cabin is a huge issue, but I also want to make sure that I'm getting accurate readings from all of the instruments on my engine so that I am able to properly ensure that I am getting the best fuel economy possible and not running the engine too hot or in a way that shouldn't be done. Continuing the walk around, making sure that all of my ports for air intakes are done and open. Now I'm checking all the front landing gear. So this front strut, that nut there, needs to have a little bit of play in it, because if it freezes or if it gets locked, it could actually shear the landing gear and again lead to an obstruction where I either cannot actually pull up the landing gear or, once it is up, not be able to put it back down. After the landing gear has been checked, tire is good, now I'm going to check my propeller. Now, the prop was just overhauled, which means the seal is good, I don't have any nicks on the prop, and it is really in great condition. Really easy to do it on this flight. Now we're going to look under the left cowl. And the same thing on this side. I want to make sure that I'm checking the exhaust for cracks. I want to make sure that I'm checking all of the EGT lines. And another thing that I was looking at before is that there used to be an oil leak. So I want to make sure that since this plane has been run and since it's been worked on, there is no more oil leaking in the engine bay and everything is clean. For today's flight, everything's looking great. Making sure that these 3 tabs are locked in place. Now I'm going to check the windshield, making sure that it's all clean, no obstructions. If there was, I'd wipe it on down. Now I'm going to look at my left wing. So checking the tires again, looking at the brake pads. This one has a little bit of a bald spot, but no cord showing, so it's still good to go. Going to check that nut, making sure that it is in fact a little bit loose, and again checking the wiring on the inside of my bay, making sure all of my fuel door drains are good to go. And now going to check the leading edge of my wing all the way down, ensuring there's no cracks and everything is clear. Now I want to take just a second and show you what I'm actually looking at in the ailerons and in the flaps. So I want to make sure that these nuts and these washers here are all locked in place in every single port here on the underside of the aileron and the underside of the flaps. And then on the flap in particular, there is a rotating kind of bolt here, and I want to make sure it has just a little bit of play, making sure that it's going to be free to move and be used. Now I'm going to check the antennas. Now all of these are super important. It looks like there's a whole bunch of them, and there are. A couple of them are for the VOR receiver. A few of them are for my comms receivers. I have 2 different comms receivers in this plane. There's my pitot static port, nothing iced over. And now I'm going to be closing off with the stabilator. Now, the stabilator is an interesting piece. It has the trim already built into the actual elevator and stabilizer all in one. There are 2 nuts that tie this together, which we address as the Jesus nuts, because if those nuts are not tight and they are not in place, you're going to be praying to Jesus. But they look locked tight, everything looks good. Going to make sure that the rudder is straight. And now we're going to close this off, checking the far side, making sure that there's no play in that stabilator on the other side. And that's really it. I hope that you've learned something, and I really want to continue putting out content that's going to be useful and helpful to the general aviation population, as well as people that are just interested in flying in general. So, if you could show your support, like and subscribe, I would love to continue putting out content like this for everybody. So keep flying with me in Comanche 55 Charlie Yankee here with the Adventuring Aviator. And I'd love to hear from you with any feedback, questions, or just general ideas for videos in the future. So let me know down in the comments, and I'll look forward to seeing you there.